Good afternoon, everybody. This is Russell with Russell Does Stuff. I'm sitting here on the couch with Wayne. I just had lunch and just got done working until noon. Today I got home about 12:04. I work 6 hours on Monday, 6 hours on Tuesday, and whenever I don't get finished up on those 2 days, I'll take care of on Wednesday. And since we've had a lot of rain this summer, I have to work again for a couple hours tomorrow. But as soon as November, October gets here, I'll be able to get everything done um, on Monday and Tuesday. I do not want to work past noon anymore, ever again. And I planned it that way. I want to be home having lunch. I want to take a nap if I want, head out to my shop, work on my projects. I want to be home. I've spent the last 14 years and then plus years before that at other people's homes fixing their problems and making their houses look great. And it's time that Russell, who does stuff around his home. I have to get this house fixed up because we're renting it out. You notice I haven't hung pictures all over the place. There's a few things that's hung up, but I didn't want to have to match the paint and cover up the holes on the walls. So when I work, I have a headset on and I listen to talk radio while I'm working. And I was listening to Glenn Beck today, and he was talking about Hunter Biden. And Hunter Biden was giving an interview, and he was discussing his past, his drug use, and his alcohol use in an interview. And it brought back a bunch of memories that I had from a couple of the businesses that I owned in the past. When you hire somebody and you're like a new business or you don't have the resources to drug test employees, and in some cases, if you do drug test employees before you hire them, they're not going to call. Okay, so when I would put an ad out in the newspaper, they would call up, do you drug tests? And sometimes I would say yes, and sometimes I would say no, just to see what they would say. And it was hard finding people that wanted to work because they didn't want to take a drug test. And it's hard to find people, especially people who want to go outside and do labor, even people that work on the inside doing labor. It's tough to fill positions when you're a business owner. So most of the time, I would tell them I don't drug test. And they would come in for an interview and I'd try to size them up and, run a background check and during the interview process, find out why they had priors or, do they do drugs? And every single time they would say they did not do drugs or they did drugs in the past or whatever. I grew up very isolated. And my dad didn't drink, my dad didn't do drugs, my mom didn't drink, my mom didn't do drugs. Nobody could afford to do that stuff. I grew up in a very, very poor neighborhood where nobody had any money to do any of that stuff. It was a treat to go to McDonald's or to go up to the convenience store and buy a RC Cola. Nobody had money. We drank water, milk, and stuff from the grocery store and bologna sandwiches, peanut butter sandwiches, and cereal if we were lucky. So I didn't grow up around people who did drugs. Even as kids, none of the kids I grew up with knew what drugs were or what drugs were. So I had a learning curve. When you start a business or buy a business, you have to consider that subject of drug use. Are your employees doing drugs or not? And I learned about drugs, or I thought I knew about drugs and learned about drugs from my employees. Hunter Biden talks about his crack use in an interview, which I heard secondhand from Glenn Beck today on the radio. And he explained, he reminded me of a guy named Mike that used to work for me. I bought an aluminum business, and the great, hardworking, responsible, driver's license, vehicle driving superstar of this company, his name was Mike. Well, the owner I bought the company from, the owner of this company that I bought lied to me about Mike and found out that Mike was a crack addict. Okay, he did pretty much the same thing Hunter Biden was doing: partying, drinking, and doing crack. Now, to me, a crack is something in the sidewalk. I had no idea what crack was. Okay, he never explained to me what crack was. All right, all I knew was from what I witnessed, which was his behaviors: up all night, partying all night, hanging out with the wrong crowd, prostitutes. And the guy wasn't responsible at all. And I just bought this business, and I needed to get jobs done. I found myself going over there and trying to get him up after he had been up partying all night. So what his mindset was: work so he could buy crack. I didn't, for the life of me, never thought that people would actually work their butts off when he did show up, and then take all that hard work and that money and go buy drugs with it. And that's exactly what he was doing. He was rinsing and repeating. And when he didn't have any money and didn't have any crack, oh boy, man, he'd blow my phone up. Can I borrow money? Can I get advance on my paycheck and stuff? As a business owner, a new business owner, I didn't know how to handle this stuff. All I knew is I had jobs I went out and sold. I was doing my part. And the employee that I had couldn't do his part because he was a crack addict. So he wasn't the only crack addict that I had work for me. I think I had a couple other ones. Billy, he was a crack addict, but he hid it pretty good. He hid, people would come up to me, hey, Billy's a crackhead. Well, what's a crackhead? I had no idea what a crackhead was. So I had somebody kind of explain it to me that you need certain things in order to smoke crack. And I found out that the convenience store up the street was selling my employees the stuff that you need in order to smoke it. So you got to get it from somewhere, and then you got to go get the things that you need in order to smoke it with. And I remember I was pissed off. I had enough. It was one morning, my guys weren't in, my crack addicts weren't in, and I went down to the convenience store and I said, have you seen Mike? You seen Billy? Have you seen Bill, the other guy, Bill? Oh, they were just in here. I said, you're selling them this stuff and you're hurting my business, and I don't appreciate it. And the guy just looked at me funny, and I was mad. I was pissed off. And I had no right to be upset with the guy, but they would have got the materials to smoke crack with somewhere else. It's one of those convenience stores that they don't sell gas, but they have all sorts of other things. Like if you walk in and ask for a salad with cut up eggs on it and light salad dressing, they'd look at you like you were crazy. Nothing in these stores is healthy. Not one thing. There's no healthy choices in these stores. So I let the guy know how I felt, and I don't think he cared at all. So listening to the replay from Hunter Biden's interview about his crack use and stuff brought back memories. Like one time, Mike came in late, and we had a big job after Hurricane Charlie. We were doing the soffits and the restoration on patios from the hurricane damage. And he wouldn't agree to work that day unless he could bring the woman with him that he spent all evening partying with. I ended up firing the guy, all right? And I didn't want anything to do with him because he was hurting my business. And to find good soffit, fascia, and gutter guys is tough, okay? And I remember one time, this was about a year after I'd fired him, we needed somebody to go up like 3 stories and do some soffit, fascia, gutter work. And it was in a real dangerous place. And this crackhead Mike was one of the best at his job when he was on point. And so I drove the back alleys, the back streets, the shady, dirty hotels looking for him because we couldn't get a lift or a crane or anything in between this mansion we were working on. So eventually I found him. I said, look, I said, I need your help. You owe me. Because I was good to this guy. I tried to help him get off drugs. I did everything I could to help this guy turn his life around. And he didn't want to turn his life around. He wanted to be partying Mike, okay? So he agreed to help me out. And he lost his shirt. He smelled. It's pretty disgusting, but yeah, I guess when you smoke crack, you don't care about showering. So we took him to the job. He went up, took care of what we needed to get taken care of. I paid him. He used one of our phones. Somebody came and picked him up, I think, and that was the last I ever seen Mike. And I recall hearing about, getting an update about him. He finally got off crack. So, and the other guy, Billy, who was turning sockets into crack pipes at my cabinet business, I heard he got off crack also. But I needed them off crack while they were working for me because it really affected my business. It put me behind with everything. And I learned a lot more today about crack from Hunter Biden. I didn't realize, how you made it, the difference between that and the other substance they use in order to make it and stuff. It sounds like a real bad deal. So say no to crack. And as a business owner, you have to navigate these things when you're hiring people and you're trying to fill positions for your company. It's tough. People will lie, I've heard of people passing drug tests and stuff. Well, they had no drugs in their system because they couldn't afford it. As soon as they got their first check, they were back doing drugs. I had a guy named Steve who, not sure if we sent him in for a drug test or not, but he was on probation or something, and he showed me something where he was off. He didn't have drugs in his system, and he was into meth, which I don't understand anything about meth. unless it's explained to me or I hear it on the radio. Um, he got paid and he started doing meth again, and then for next thing you know, I need money. And then, his anger and his attitude starts bubbling up and makes for a miserable experience in the shop. So Hunter said that I think crack is better for you than drinking and doing cocaine. Whatever. So I wanted to share my experiences with people that have been in my life who have done crack. So we almost have 200 subscribers. When we hit 200 subscribers, we're going to celebrate. We're having a shop party in the backyard. My 2 employees, my dogs are invited, and I appreciate all my subscribers. I haven't heard anything from Zach today, so that means the mower's still working good for him. And I'd like to do some more things like that. I'd like to find somebody else and help them out in their business. And I may reach out to some of my suppliers and see if they'd be interested in donating some equipment. We can drive around and interview some young bucks that just started up their business and see if this channel can help them out or not. So, all right, if you like this video, hit the like and subscribe button. If you're just passing through and this isn't your thing, my name's Russell, and I appreciate you stopping by, and we'll catch you on the next one.